Commence primary ignition.
This is the way.
What is up, all of you Ugnots and Jawas out there, and welcome to a new edition of Mando Talk. This is our spoiler discussion after show breakdown of the latest chapter of Season 3 of The Mandalorian, and on this one we've got Chapter 20 titled The Foundling. Now, that title has been leaked for a while because our boy Carl Weathers gave us some goodies in the middle of the week last week on Twitter. Thank you so much there, Carl Weathers. He was our director of this episode, and this episode was written by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, so we know all about those guys. So we can kind of skip over that and get into the breakdown immediately with this one, but we also know all about Zach Horvath. He's back in the co-host seat, co-piloting with me. Somehow we're cramming in the N1 together yet again, but we're getting it done. Zach, so good to have you back. What's up?
What up? I'll ride in the little Grogu droid seat. I'll be in that little bubble. You know, I'm fine with that. What up, man? I'm happy to be here. Glad to be back. Talk about some Mandalorian. You know what I mean? You know what I'm going to say. I love this. I love hanging out with you. I love talking Star Wars. So thanks for having me.
Well, let's go ahead and dive into it, shall we? Now, as we always do, before we dive into it, make sure you do the things you need to do to be part of Clan Mando Talk. Hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Again, there's benefit to subscribing on YouTube. We've got some YouTube shorts going on here, there, and everywhere throughout the week to cover The Mandalorian Season 3. I am loving doing those. So there's some additional content over there, but audio platforms as well, like I said, Spotify, Apple, and there's so many more, like Google Prime. I think we're on Amazon Prime. We're on everything, everywhere, all at once. There's an Oscar winner there title there somewhere. But just search in Mando Talk and subscribe wherever you're at. We greatly appreciate it. So, Chapter 20, titled The Foundling. Let's do it like how we did it last week first, Zach. Let's first do our overall impressions, and then we'll get into the deep dissecting, deep breaking down part of the chapter and part of this podcast episode. So I can go first, I guess, this week. I think I made you go first last week.
Go ahead.
Although it was definitely the shortest episode that we've seen in The Mandalorian so far, I feel like the pacing, the flow, and everything of this chapter was so, like, it just kept going. It was smooth. It was smooth throughout. The action was great. I was hooked. So if in that sense, I know that was my big concern heading in, was seeing that it was only like 30 minutes. Take away the credits and it's probably only like 25. I was concerned by that, but the action in this episode kept me engaged. It made me feel full by the end of it, and I really enjoyed getting back to the basics, focused on Din Djarin, Grogu, Bo-Katan, and having so much fun. I mean, in a sense, that one word describes this entire chapter for me. Fun, period. And that's really about it. Like, yes, there's probably some things in here, writing. I know we've used this phrase before in our breakdown, Zach. The word clunky may come up. There may be some things here and there that just logically don't make sense. But at the end of the day, this was Star Wars defined, if you will. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely had so much fun. What about you, Zach?
I'm right there with you, man. I loved this episode.
Woo!
I really did. I thought Carl Weathers was incredible in his direction in this episode because he had a short amount of time to get across a lot, and man, did he do that. The action was it's one of my favorite action scenes in Mandalorian, hands down.
Really?
With when they're all flying around the big thing, loved that.
The raptor.
I thought the graphics were great on that. The CG looked great to me. Because remember, it's a Disney Plus show here. Like, this is a week-to-week show. I think people tend to forget that, first of all. But I thought it was amazing. I loved the story. I loved all the Grogu stuff. I loved the I don't know, saving him, I guess you'd call it that. The saving of him. I loved all that. I loved the Bo stuff. I loved the Grogu at the place stuff. Every piece of this episode work for me. I loved it so much.
I am thrilled to hear that, and I'm sure some of our audio listeners are thrilled to hear that as well after last week's chapter. Chapter 19 was admittedly, just across the board, not necessarily here on just Mando Talk. Across the board, people loved it. People didn't really like it. It's kind of like there is no in between almost. But
I'm thrilled to say I love this episode. Like it felt so good to be back in this pocket. Like you said, it's Mandalorian. Yeah. Is it clunky sometimes? Are you like, okay, I guess sometimes? That's fine. That's what this is. It's Star Wars, man. It's people playing with the Star Wars action figures, having a good time, make it look good. It's emotional. It's action packed. That's all I need.
It hit all the feels. It hit all the feels
100%, man.
Throughout this entire
and going
thing.
back to the direction thing, before we kind of dig in, I truly believe it goes down to the writing and direction here. Like the acting was great, all the helmet stuff, but I think this one being written by John and Dave Filoni, it showed, number one, to me. It very clearly showed. And also being helmed by Carl Weathers, I can't believe how well this dude does action scenes.
I know, man. This is the second time.
It's so good.
I think it was chapter 14 chapter 12.
Keep me locked in, and the way he uses the camera to like keep things hidden from us, where like we see Grogu kind of walking his little steps, and he doesn't cut away, right? And then there's like we have the moment where Grogu's shooting the little thing, like beep, 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 but he does the Yoda flip, and that's like little stuff like that is a director's call. I think makes a great big difference here.
No, I'm 100% with you, and I can't wait to start diving into this one and talk about all the good things that came along the way. So let's go ahead and kick this off. First moments of the episode, we immediately open hot with some very intense music and Bo-Katan taking the covert in as the Children of the Watch are training. Grogu is on the sands just chilling as a rock crab begins to swivel towards him. Din Djarin approaches Grogu and says it's time for him to learn with the other foundlings. This scene was very cool for me. It just establishes like what these dudes and dudettes are doing in their spare time. They're legit training. They are continuing to practice their Mandalorian ways, and I love taking the moment to show that in Bo-Katan's eyes, because remember, this is her taking all of this stuff back in. We've talked about it in our previous breakdown episodes. She feels that Mandalorian culture yet again swelling inside of her, and I feel like that decision of seeing her kind of walk through the sands was done very nicely. Now, of course, Din Djarin requests Grogu to challenge Ragnar, the foundling from the premiere episode. Bo-Katan questions if this is a good idea, and Din Djarin says he must learn if he is ever to rise from foundling to apprentice. So, breaking down this scene, and then we'll definitely get some thoughts displayed. The judge declares Grogu too small for a challenge, but since Din Djarin is his ward, the challenge is accepted. Ragnar chooses the weapon of darts to be used. Ragnar questions why Grogu doesn't wear a helmet. I can't wait for that whenever it does potentially happen. Anyway, Din Djarin responds by saying he's too young to recite the creed, so he's too young to wear a helmet, and Ragnar responds by saying then he's too young to fight. What a bratty little kid. Din Djarin says, one does not speak unless one knows, and Ragnar says, well, I know, and Din Djarin says perhaps the lesson is for him then, too. The training darts are distributed as the two prepare for the challenge. Bo-Katan tells Grogu not to worry, that her dad was the same way. Din is just proud of him and to take it easy on the kid. Great setup here. It easily established the vibes of this episode. I loved the banter going on between Ragnar and Din Djarin in these moments, and I love the reestablishment, if you will, because we kind of took a break from it last week, of the dad and son bond between Din Djarin and Grogu. What did you think of these opening moments, Zach?
Loved it. It was a refresher. I'm like, all right, here we go. This is so cool. This is where John and Dave Filoni get to really show what they can do. This is very clear to me. I may be wrong, but this is Jon Favreau, obviously, writing this to me. It is so well done with layers. And everyone, I've seen some like online where they're like, oh, it's short, not a lot of story. This tells me so much. There's way more than I thought of these Mandalorians. They're still on this beach where they just got attacked by this huge thing we just saw. They're still out there, like risking their lives pretty much, because that's all they have. That's where they're at. There's a bunch more than I thought. they're letting Grogu, who's this baby in a sense,
Right.
do this fight where the dude's like, yeah, he's too small. And Din's like, he's not. Let's go. And I love that, like, kind of going with the Creed stuff. They're like, all right, hey, let's do it. And so they just so happen to have the tiniest dart shooter I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
I love that.
Very
but
convenient.
everything about it worked for me so well. Din being the proud dad, Bo coming over and giving him the hype moment.
Yeah,
I
the
loved
pep talk.
that. Yeah, like
that hit me. I don't know
my
why
dad's
it hit
the same
me.
way. Like she is exponent. She's going
I know.
up my
I know.
favorites chart, dude. She's so good. I also think she's so well written. I think everything about her character lines up with what I expect from her. And it's like just a little notch higher. It's like, okay, yep, that's exactly what I think she would say in this moment. She's going to hype him up. She's a leader. That's what it's all about. She is a leader. Naturally.
And this entire episode displayed that 1,000%.
Exactly.
I mean, this is day one of her being there, essentially, at least from what we've seen. And she's already rallying the troops.
Exactly. Like she may be trying to make a play or
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe, but also I just think this is how she is. Like, and you can say I'm wrong, but like I think she's just naturally doing these things, right? Like pep talking him, hey, my dad's the same way, he's just proud of you. Like the way she says it. And I talked about the writing, it's so good, but her acting in the helmet, just as good as Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
She is so good portraying these emotions with that helmet on. So good.
No, I 1000%.
Shout out to Katie Sackhoff there.
Yeah, she's nailing it. She's quickly taking over this season. I mean, I feel like already she has, in my opinion. But I'm biased. I absolutely love me some Bo-Katan. You mentioned the writing. Maybe this is just my personal theory, I guess. It feels like maybe Favreau probably wrote the moments where we were with the covert, and then Filoni handled the writing of the Grogu 100%. Flashback.
100% agree with that.
Because I feel you, like, you can feel Favreau's handprint on all of the Mandalorian scenes, and it feels like anytime there's, like, deep, canonical moments, Filoni's the guy that's writing those.
I agree. Like, if the Mandalorian culture and speech, Favreau all over it, to me. And I may be crazy. I know, John, I know you're listening. And so tell me if I'm wrong. But I just feel like it shows, and that's where I love Mandalorian, because they get this banter correct. And then even Bo, like, coming in with her side of banter, but it still fits in the world. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you talk to Americans, they talk to one way. If you talk to British people, they talk in one way, So I think it's fascinating. I love this scene.
Absolutely.
That was a long sentence to say. I love these moments.
We're breaking it down. The opener of this chapter made me feel very, very pleased, and made me feel like we were about to get some good stuff. Well, continuing on here, the challenge begins, and Ragnar gets 2 quick points on Grogu, who is confused and has no clue what's going on. Din says to Grogu that it's okay for him to show everyone what he can do, and Grogu leaps here, there, and everywhere to get 3 quick darts on Ragnar and win the challenge. Now, I absolutely loved when Grogu gets hit with a dart for the first time, and he immediately looks at Din, and he says, "Don't look at me, look at him." That was probably my favorite moment of this episode.
So good, man.
Favorite cute moment of this episode. Yeah. Just phenomenal stuff. And then after the win, Bo-Katan asks Din if he taught him that skill of jumping, and Din says, "Not me." Clearly a callback to Grogu's training with Luke. And Paz, interesting enough, is watching from afar and says that same line that Din Djarin said earlier of one doesn't speak unless one knows. And then the kid storms off. What'd you think of the actual duel here? What'd you think of those cute moments? What you got?
All right, so I'm going to start off with my nitpick, and then I'll get into the stuff I love. Nitpick is, why didn't the kid just go boop, boop, boop?
I know. Yeah, because Grogu did it. Yeah, Grogu went boop, boop, boop.
I thought it was like round-based, but Grogu's like, nah, gotcha. So that's my nitpick.
He doesn't play by the rules. Doesn't play by the rules.
So I watched this by myself, and then I watched it with my wife, is how I played this one. My wife was about to come up swinging on Ragnar. She's like, if he shoots him again, I'm going to find him, and I'm going to get him. And I'm like, I got you. And so I knew when I watched it the first time, I was like, my wife's going to be so mad that Grogu's getting shot with these little darts right now. And she was, and I just thought it was hilarious. But everything you said. The don't look at me, look at him. That's
Mm-hmm.
such a dad thing.
Gosh, it
That
was
is
so cool.
that's such a dad thing to be like, you're on your own now, big boy. Like you're in. I love that moment. And then he's like, do what you got to do. And then he starts Yoda flipping everywhere. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, come on, baby. We get the prequel Yoda on
Oh, it
him.
was great.
And I love how Ragnar is just like,
Yeah, he's completely
when he
mind blown.
yeah, like this dude's pulling out force powers. I just got my helmet like yesterday. I had this dragon thing try to eat me, and now I got this creature jumping all over me. I loved it. And then one last thing where Paz is talking about, in their terms of one doesn't speak unless one knows.
Right.
Watch your mouth is what they're trying to say, right? In Mandalorian terms.
Right.
And I loved that Mando says that,
Mm-hmm.
and then his dad basically is like, watch your mouth. Like,
right.
Don't speak unless you know what you're talking about here.
Yeah.
And you don't.
100%.
You just got shown up by this baby. Like, come on.
He did.
You're embarrassed.
He did.
And then salt in the wound about 5 seconds from now. What happens to him?
So dude's
this boy's
just
down hard.
he storms off to the side, to have his little upset session, and here comes this creature just flying out of the sky, snatches the kid up. Paz and Din end up leading a small squad by jetpack to go after this creature, and then all of these Mandalorians actually run out of fuel on their jetpack, but Bo-Katan, the only smart one there apparently, flies above them in her gauntlet to keep the chase going and get some valuable intel. So yeah, the kid definitely worst moments of his life, potentially, to get beaten by a little baby and then turn around and get scooped up by a creature. Now, continuing on here, let's just go ahead and go to the next thing, because Bo-Katan, it's immediate. She reports back to the armor her findings of where the creature lives and how she believes to most effectively get to it. Din Djarin is quick to announce that he will join her on this mission. I found that personally very interesting, because it just displays, I think, the care and the respect that they have for each other and the bond that they have. And I'm not even talking like if you're somebody that ships them. If you do, cool. But I'm just talking like on a friendship level here.
Just a respect level.
Right, 100%. Din is right there by her side immediately whenever she's wanting to do something here. Paz Vizsla is instructed by the armorer to lead the Shriek-Hawk training team on the mission as well. Grogu is left behind with the armorer, who declares he will be able to join them on missions all in good time before retreating to the cave to attend some work in order for Grogu to one day become Mandalorian. Now, these moments with the armorer were the moments where suddenly, and I've said it on this podcast, I haven't been vibing with the armorer, but man, she does a total 180 in this episode. I absolutely love her character. And when I say vibing, like I love her, I've always loved her character. I'm saying like her persona, if you will. I've never like seen her ways eye to eye necessarily. But man, she shows a lot of heart, a lot of care, a lot of respect in this episode, and this was kind of the turn of it, if you will, allowing Bo-Katan to lead this mission, talking to Grogu in kind of that almost in like, I guess, an aunt kind of way, if we're trying to, keep the family dynamics going on. What do you think of this setting up here as far as the mission goes and how they utilize Grogu kind of setting to the side, but of course we'll then get into the massively stuff that we get with Grogu next.
I'm gonna say this a lot. I love this. This moment of everyone like just immediately not thinking, and then Bo's like, I'm gonna go get my ship. So my first question for you, I got a couple takes on this, and I want to hear your thoughts. Okay. First take, did they not have ships?
That was a great question, and that's a question that I came up with on a second watch. I'm like, where are their ships at? I'm wondering,
like, well, he has said he always gets away. Gets away. So they run out of fuel, right?
So they've done this before.
Yeah, like where are their ships? Maybe they don't have them. Like I don't understand. Maybe they don't have like a bus type ship, but again, that's my first question on this. My second question here, and this is my theory. All right. So my second watch, it kind of come over me because later on we see that crocodile thing again.
Yeah.
First take, I was like, all right, another ant like creature, like come on,
yeah,
lazy writing. No, I think this is all set up for them wanting to leave that area and go back to Mandalore.
Oh yeah,
so that's
100%.
That's my take here. I don't know if that's a theory, but that's my
Yeah.
whole take of this. Because I've seen some people like, oh, you know, it's the same thing. Why would they still
Mm-hmm.
be living there? Number one, they're like they have they're homeless basically.
Right.
Like they have nowhere to
Essentially.
go.
Yeah.
So first of all, there's you got to deal with what you got. All right. But second of all, I think this is all happening on purpose because number one, it's really sad. They've lost foundlings.
Yep.
Clearly, this thing has done this multiple times that they haven't been able to save them. And they just so happen to come across Bo, who's like wanting to rule the thing. So it's going to come. This is the story.
Yes.
I want everyone to know this is the story.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough story. That is the story of this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's Bo and Din coming together, potentially, and bringing it all back to Mandalore. Whether we get that this season, like we're on Mandalore with everyone, I don't know that, but that is the story. And with all of this like bad stuff happening, they're going to be like, you know what? So it's not cursed. I can live there. And now we have the Mythosaur and we have the Darksaber. Let's go back to Mandalore, baby.
Right.
Let's take it back over.
Yeah, it'll be like a culminating moment for sure. You know, part of me too, and I'm like you, I saw some complaining about, oh, if this is the 5th time that this creature's done this, then why are they still living there? I also think it's part of the naivety. If is that how you say it? I think that's how you say it.
Naivety.
Something like that. I think that's part of the Mandalorian. Like, they just like challenged. They like being challenged. They like trying to kill these creatures.
They're just set in their ways. They're like,
right. They're just like,
you
okay,
can't
no,
make me
we've
leave.
got this. We're not leaving. We'll figure it out. We'll adapt. I think that's also just the way they are. But I like what you're saying too. I definitely think it's leading to something for sure. It's giving
I think it's
them
all on
reason.
purpose. Like,
it's giving them reason to eventually leave this place 1,000%.
And it gives Bo ammunition to say like, look around you.
Yeah.
You can't.
She's
you're
got
not
something
safe.
to stand on for sure.
Yeah, you've lost foundlings. Ragnar was trying to have his ceremony and got jacked up. Thank God Din showed up. Like, you guys got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And where's the best place to go? Mandalore. Who's going to lead you? Me.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So.
Well, we get inside. The armorer begins working at the forge and has a monologue revealing the parallels between the Mandalorian people and the steel being forged. Here's the quote. "It is the heart of Mandalorian culture. Just as we shape the Mandalorian steel, we shape ourselves. We all begin as raw ore. We define ourselves through trials and adversity. The forge can reveal weaknesses." And it's at this moment where Grogu begins recalling Order 66, and we start diving into this flashback fully. So I will just say before we get into the flashback, because that's really the meat probably of this breakdown, is dissecting everything that's going on during Order 66. I love these Mandalorian lore moments. Like, I love listening to the armorer talk about and justify why they're the way they are. It's fantastic. I mean, what did you think of this monologue real quickly, and then we'll get into this Order 66 flashback.
I love the armor. Everything she does, man. She is. I have not had any beef with her. I love everything she does, even if she is like a psycho cult leader. You know, at the root of it,
right?
She's awesome. Like, she don't play. She's like, this is us, baby. We are raw ore, and you are shaped by adversity. And that is so Mandalorian in my mind.
Yeah, it is.
I loved all of it. I loved all of this.
It was fantastic. Absolutely. Phenomenal
and that girl loves
stuff.
to work on some armor, by the way.
Yes, she does. That's why they call her the armorer.
She's itching to prove her worth.
Flip out when they finally reveal what her real name is, and I really hope it's connecting back to some Clone Wars characters that we've seen in the past.
It'll probably be, Agatha, Big Bath, that was in Clone Wars Episode 4.
Yeah, and it'll be like, ooh, that's for you. You'll be like, ooh, that's a cool name, and I'll be over here. Oh my gosh, what?
Oh my God, that is the cousin of.
Exactly.
I hope that's the case. Exactly. I love that stuff. I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
All right. Well, let's get to the Order 66 flashback. The Jedi are surrounding Grogu, and they're attempting to get him to Kelleran as clone troopers attack. We hear that name drop between some dialogue between these Jedi. The clones eventually wipe all the surrounding Jedi out as Grogu slips on an elevator. Once the elevator opens, Jedi Keller Beck, played by Ahmed Best, is there to protect Grogu as he takes out clone troopers, and they get on a speeder very similar to Count Dooku's speeder in Attack of the Clones. Now, Jedi Keller Beck, if he's new to you, he's actually not a new character. He made his first appearance two-ish, three-ish years ago on the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel in the game show titled Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge, and Ahmed Best played and portrayed that character in that Jedi Temple Challenge as well. A bigger takeaway of mine is the fact that Ahmed Best is back in an extremely meaningful role. I mean, this man has been through the absolute ringer dealing with the negative reaction and reception of the Jar Jar Binks character, and it makes me so happy that he is being appreciated once again by the masses as Master Kelleran. So I'll pause there, just kind of talking about these scenes. Of course, kind of Grogu in the hallway there in the temple wasn't necessarily new. We saw a lot of that in the Book of Boba Fett, but then we take a left turn down another hallway, and that's when it starts getting new. And these two Jedi that are with him get killed. He's able to slip into the elevator, and we have no clue what's going to happen. But as soon as those doors open, we see Ahmed Best's face, and I'm like, oh crap, yeah, Kelleran. That's the dude that made me feel like people were listening to the podcast because Keller, my last name, is used in a Jedi. That freaking awesome. So I recalled in that moment, oh yeah, okay, I know who this guy is. And of course, I see the face. I'm like, okay, this is really emotional, just kind of outside of the episode because Ahmed Best, like I said, threw so much, and it's so good to have him back in this role. And then he's freaking going ham with these lightsabers, killing all these clone troopers, and then they're off. So before we keep going, before we keep talking about what they do when they go off, what did you think of this reveal? What did you think of the action in these Order 66 moments?
I thought it was incredible. Okay. And I'll tell you why in sections. First note, I love how they cut into this with the boom, boom, boom.
Good
Love
call.
that. Very like PTSD level stuff that I thought was very good. The puppeteering on Baby Yoda, aka Grogu, chef's kiss, because he looked in pain, like he didn't like it. He's like, whoa, having like flashbacks. So the reveal of Ahmed Best, I saw it on Twitter before I saw the episode.
Man, really?
Yes.
I hate that.
And I'll tell you why I'm okay. I'll tell you why I'm okay with it.
Okay.
It reminded me who he was.
Okay.
So when it happened, I wept. All right. I cried.
So cool.
I got very emotional because it's so powerful. The levels of what we are witnessing. To some, to my wife, he's just a dude, right? He's just a Jedi.
Same for my wife, for sure.
Yeah. So when he picks up the other lightsaber and he's dual wielding it and just going ham, weeping. My wife doesn't know who he is, but she goes, "This is awesome." And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. This is so sick. And I said, guess who he is? Blah, 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 Jar Jar Binks, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, wow, that's incredible. And I'm like, yes, it is. That's why I'm crying right now. Because he's the one saving Grogu. And he's not just like picking him up and going with him. This dude's going ham, full Jedi, using the Force, killing all these dudes. And he knows, like, I got to get out of here. So then they have the chase. Okay? And we can lead into the chase now, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So they're flying through Coruscant, which kudos to last week. I actually knew where this was immediately.
Payoff, baby.
Yeah. So they're flying through Coruscant. This is the part of the episode where I'll say was a little clunky for me.
Okay.
A little goofy, where he's just
motorcycle handlebars.
Like this thing trying to shoot him, and he's just so that was a little clunky. But all in all, it kept me on the edge of my seat. I knew they were getting away, but I didn't know, like, is he gonna get killed? Like, what's gonna happen, right? So I loved the whole subway section where he cuts off, because I'm thinking, like, dude, why are you in this tunnel? Like, this thing could just kill you. He cuts off. I love that moment where they jump up and you see the little mountain top that we just saw last week.
Umate.
The little piece of Coruscant. Love that. That's beautiful. That's how
Yes.
you set a story. That's how you tell it. I love that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And then so they're flying. He says, "All right, I'm meeting up with some people." You're wondering, "Oh God, who are these people?" Right? I
Yeah.
wasn't too worked up about that. I was just like, who's this going to be? He lands. I love how the bumpy landing. He goes flying. I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was awesome too. They come out and they're like, "Hey, yo, jump in. They're
Mm-hmm.
coming." And he's like, okay." So like, I want to get one of those little pods that Grogu has.
Oh,
First of all, that
100%.
thing's awesome. He
Yeah,
just
it
closes
is.
his little pod. So I don't know who these guys are. So I'm gonna pause here.
Okay.
Grogu gets on the ship with Kelleran.
Yep.
Who are these people
The
that are
that
helping him?
Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Here comes the Star Wars
Give me
knowledge,
that
baby.
lore, baby.
All right. So on this landing platform, you're talking about the squad of troopers, right? That help.
Yes, that
Okay.
help him.
So the shiny ship here is a Naboo cruiser
Yeah.
ship,
Okay.
kind of
Prequel
connecting
level.
to what Anakin and Padme's looked like in Attack of the Clones. Those soldiers are what we call the Royal Naboo Security Forces. And they're really just dudes. They're just soldiers from Naboo. Now,
Okay.
this is for me
Okay.
where it gets wild. You know who currently is the senator of Naboo? Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar Binks.
Hey,
Could Jar Jar
Jar
have
Jar
had
Binks.
something
He's
to do
everywhere.
with this? Could he
He's
have sent these
everywhere.
troopers? I'm freaking out with
Jar
this
Jar
reveal.
sent Jar Jar to save him, baby. Let's go.
I think it's
love that.
possible, if I'm
I
being
love
completely
that.
honest. I
Well,
think
why?
it's 1,000% possible that somehow Jar Jar Binks knows of this Baby Yoda Grogu and sends.
I don't think it's Grogu specifically. I just think it's a youngling, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with it being Grogu. I think Jar Jar's just like a good dude.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, he is. And like, I think he's just trying to help out. I love that dude. I didn't
Yeah.
know that. Okay.
Yeah,
So Jar Jar's running the show
I think
in
so.
Naboo.
Yeah.
And if Keller's wrong, roast him. Please roast him because I love that. I love that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and on the flip side, though, it could just be that Jedi Kelleran is from Naboo, and maybe he just has
Nah, we're
connections
going with the
on
Jar
that
Jar.
level.
Nah.
Hey, I'm
I
with it.
love that. I love
with
that
it.
because that's so meta. Like Jar Jar sending the doo-doo's Jar Jar to go save him, and then it gives Jar Jar like more backstory because it's like
Yeah.
he had to be in the know. Like
Right.
he knew
right.
something was going down if he's working with the Jedi to get him out. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's like, hey, yo, Palps is bad. Let's
Yeah.
go get the Jedi out. Like he's the Phantom Menace. Get him out of there. So
Yeah,
I
I mean,
love that dude.
We'll see.
I wondered.
Now,
So what
that
was your
does-
take on this little chase moment first before we leave?
Okay, I definitely agree with you. The chasing, sometimes it was like, ooh, does that look great?
Yeah.
But I'm thrilled with what we're getting, so I don't really care. I don't mind it. But yeah, the chase was fantastic. I loved the Umate displayed yet again. Of course, that made me giddy. But this whole time, once we see them hit the landing pad and they get on this ship and they blast into hyperspace, I now have more questions, if I'm being completely honest. Like now, yes, I know Grogu. We get that reveal that he gets saved from Order 66 by Kelleran. But things are going to go bad at some point, right? I mean,
He's gonna end up in that crate with a bounty on him, right?
right, because
Like that's where we end up.
Season 1, Grogu is in that same little pod on Arvala 7, where Quill is, and of course that's where our story began. So obviously, stuff hits the fan at some point, and I want to know that story. I want to know if our crazy theory of somehow Jar Jar being in play here, I want to know if there's more behind why is Jedi Kelleran the guy that was sent to get Grogu. Like, why specifically that character? Why specifically does it connect to Naboo? Why are the Naboo soldiers there? Like, all of these questions are all kind of in the back of my mind now, and I do think it's still possible that we get continued flashbacks for those answers. But yeah, I was so thrilled with this reveal. Now, one of the questions that I had here in our notes was, were we disappointed that it wasn't a big main character that we already knew? Like, I know for me personally, I was speculating like Barriss Offee. Of course, that connects to Clone Wars. Zach, you may not even know who that is. R2-D2, I speculated that even possibly. So it didn't turn out to be that way, but I'm personally A-okay with it because there's no canon issues. There's nothing like that to where people are like, oh, that actually doesn't work, so The Mandalorian is no longer fluid with canon or whatever. So in a sense, overall, all of this stuff was fantastic. Yes, the chase, a little clunky here and there, to steal your phrase, but Ahmed Best, at the end of the day, back as a Jedi and looking absolutely sick, I might add.
Oh, dude. So
with the
good.
little gold detail on his Jedi robe.
It looks so
My
good,
gosh.
man. And the fact that he's going ham, using the Force, we're seeing Jedi in action, like peak Jedi Master. And I just learned on Wikipedia that his nickname is the Sabered Hand.
Yep.
That's his nickname. That is so sick. I would have that on my chest. You kidding me? My name ain't Keller anymore, baby. I'm going by Sabered Hand. That's me. That's so sick.
It's possible that, he could use that name only, after Order 66.
I'm the
that'd be pretty cool.
I'm the Sabered Hand.
Yeah.
I love that, dude. And the fact that it's Ahmed Best and what he's been through, and he's the dude who saves Grogu. So moving forward, he ain't Jar Jar no more, baby. He is the dude who saved Grogu.
He'll always be Jar Jar for me, man.
But
yes,
same,
I
but
see
what I
you're
mean,
saying.
like,
I see what
he's
you're
walking
saying.
down the street, they're like, he saved Grogu.
Yeah.
You saved the most beloved character on Earth. You're the guy.
For sure.
That is so cool. And he didn't just pick him up and I got him. Haha.
Right.
He had to work for it, baby.
And
I
he
loved
crushed it.
This worked for me so well. God, I loved it so much. Go ahead.
Yeah, me too. Well, no, I think we've officially kind of broke down that entire Order 66 sequence.
And to go with your what's next? I think we see more. I don't think
of the flashback.
I think we see more. Maybe not 5 seconds after, but I think we find out how he got there.
To Arvala 7 in season 1. Yeah.
I think so.
I'm dying to know that. And I'm dying to know how the Niktos, because that's the species that's surrounding him and that's protecting him in season 1. I'm dying to know how they, and maybe what that species has to do.
I think Jon Favreau and them have written all that. Personally, I think they know all the answers to that.
I hope you're right. All right. Well, let's continue then. We are back in real time. As the Armorer says, it is a tradition in our culture for each to donate a small portion of what they earn to the Foundlings. It is with these scraps of Beskar that I forged your next piece of armor. Mandalorian steel shall keep you safe as you grow stronger. You will grow into this rondelle as you grow into your station, Foundling Grogu. And Grogu wears the rondelle on his chest proudly. Now, this rondelle for me is a massive hint that Grogu will eventually be fully decked out in some Beskar. And I have to say, this was the moment that emotionally got me, because you could just see how proud Grogu was to have this little circular plate on his chest. And the steps are being taken of this baby to become the next big Mandalorian or whatever. Maybe Mandalore the Great someday. I'll throw that out there. Who knows? Man, it got me. What'd you think of this moment?
I thought it was absolutely wonderful. My wife absolutely loved it. I keep talking about her because I want to give you, the listener, a reference for someone who's outside the bubble.
That's valuable. That is valuable information.
If she's in on it, it's working, in my opinion, because that's a tough sell. But she loved it. For me, I thought it was cool. I thought it was weird that he got this weird circle big chest piece on his chainmail. I was like, that okay. But the point she makes of you're going to grow into this, and that's the whole idea, loved it. Yeah. Very Mandalorian, very you got to earn this, kid. That's how I felt for that, and I loved it. It worked so much for me. And I want to stick a flag in this.
Okay.
Everyone's like, oh, he's getting a helmet. He's getting a helmet. He's getting a helmet. This dude ain't getting a helmet for a long time, folks. He's Grogu.
Yeah.
You don't put a helmet on his face.
You can't cover the face of the moneymaker for sure.
Nah, he ain't getting no helmet, folks.
Well, I think there's an argument to be had, and we'll see by the end of the season that maybe Bo-Katan convinces them to get rid of that part of their "this is the way" to where it's a non-issue at that point. To where he still gets a helmet, but he doesn't have to keep it on all the time.
That is the creed.
It is a very tough sell.
Creed. That's literally what their foundation is. They can't even freaking eat without, being alone. But
yeah. Well, we'll definitely have to wait and see. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I thought it was funny that it was so big, but I love
Yeah.
the idea that
Yeah.
like you got to earn it, you'll grow into it. It was perfect.
Absolutely. All
I've
right.
done that a lot this episode because
Mwah.
it's just
Chef's
so
kiss. It is. It is. The squad of Mandalorians on the mission to save Ragnar make their landing and begin walking to the creature's nest. Nightfall hits and Bo-Katan asks a question we've all been wondering. How do you eat when others are around? And Din gives the simple, logical answer by saying, you don't. You just go to, you find a place where you can take your helmet off and you eat in private. Now, as the food is distributed, Paz says Bo-Katan has the honor of staying by the fire since she is the leader of the war party. Once everyone is away, Bo-Katan removes her helmet to begin eating. And I loved this creative decision because it gives us, the audience, our first opportunity to get facial expressions and read how Bo-Katan is actually handling all of this and get a hint at maybe if she's actually enjoying this, if she's still thinking on it, or if she's absolutely dreading every single moment that she's there. We'll definitely talk about that. But before that, I do want to point out Bo-Katan naturally leading and taking charge has Paz viewing her differently, in my opinion, and ultimately, Paz could just be following the book here, but the tone of his delivery sounded more so out of respect. Like, I feel like last week we were talking about because of the history of their houses, there's going to be beef between the two. I actually think that's been scrapped at this point. I feel like Paz is very respectful of her because he immediately sees her great ability to lead. Now, that could hit the fan yet again if she pushes against the way. Like, that could change quickly. But at least this week, Paz respects her a lot. What do you think of that? And then we'll talk about Bo-Katan revealing her face for sure.
I think all that's accurate. Like I do believe that he was saying it in respect. Because remember, it's his son that's lost, right?
Yeah.
So like the fact that she took such a heavy part and like I found the nest, we're going to get him. Here's what we're gonna do, and she's leading the pack. Like that's gonna make you respect someone. Like if your son is taken and someone is like taking this much heed, you're gonna respect them. And so the fact that like, you know, again, canonically to the Mandalorian way, you're leading the pack. You get to sit by the fire.
Such a cool detail, too.
Love that, dude. That's what I'm talking about. Like, there's always layers to it.
Yeah.
There's always everything they say. There's layers to it.
There's
like,
intent
there's a
and
reason
purpose with everything.
Exactly. And they asked, like, she's like, "Yo, can I take my helmet off? Like, are we cool? Can I eat?" And they're like, "No, we're going into the dark because like you can't see my face. But you're the leader. You get the fire." And I love that. I love that, dude, because it makes so much sense. Again, it's such a Mandalorian thing in my mind. Like, that makes complete sense. Of course she would get the fire because she's the leader. And then she takes it off. And
so what did you think? What did you think of her facial expression? Is there anything there to read from that moment?
Yeah, I think she's like, whoa, like,
okay,
this is working for me. Like, I think she's surprised by her own commitment to this. Because if she didn't care about the way, she would have taken it off.
Right.
She wouldn't have asked that question. And so the fact that like she's looking around, you know, she's like, okay, she takes it off. She's looking. And I think she's surprised and like accepting it. She's like, okay, all right, maybe, you know, I understand it. I don't know if she's like bought in, but I think she's definitely starting to lean that way. Into at least understanding why Din is so like this
committed.
Is the way.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. That was definitely my read the first time. I think the second time I watched it, I was just looking more intently to see if there was anything else that could be seen. I think it is possible to interpret it as, you know, her looking back, checking that it's okay for her to show her real emotion about what's going on, and then she turns back and you can kind of see a little bit more there. So I think that is definitely a possibility, and this is just, you know, chef's kiss like you've been doing all night here with this episode. Katie Sackhoff did phenomenal here because I do think there are tons of different ways to interpret just this one facial expression moment from her. I could still see it going either way, whether that be fully committing or, you know, officially being like, nah, this ain't it. But I think you're right. I think she's enjoying. I think she's seeing the positives and the potential out of doing the whole "this is the way" situation going on here and joining this covert and becoming a child of the Watch. But I do still think we're going to eventually get some internal struggle with that. I just feel like that's what's going to come up with the character. But we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see. All right. Morning arrives. Paz reveals this raptor has killed others of their kind due to them firing on it, so they must be stealthy not to use weapons or their jetpacks. So they all begin to climb up the side of the cliff and eventually make it to the raptor's nest. The raptor is not there, so Paz goes Leroy Jenkins into the nest because the kid is his son. That was revealed in these moments, but we've kind of alluded to that throughout. And that was actually something that a lot of people speculated since the premiere, so I'm glad to see that one actually ended up coming
my wife
true.
didn't know. She's like, "Oh," I'm like,
Yeah.
I thought we knew that, but I guess that's the benefit of this.
It's cool to see. Cool to see. Paz stumbles upon 3 baby raptors, and suddenly Mommy shows up, spitting out Ragnar from its mouth, who is shouting, "Help me." Now, Paz jetpacks into the raptor's mouth, and the raptor grabs Ragnar, and all the Mandalorians begin jetpacking after them. Bo-Katan stabs the raptor in the face multiple times, which frees Paz from the raptor's mouth, and he just kind of jets off to the side and is hugging onto a cliff for the rest of these moments. Din knocks Ragnar out of the raptor's grip with a pretty cool, yet again, Iron Man-like maneuver, and the raptor is suddenly eaten by a sea creature, leaving the 3 baby raptors to have no mommy, which, of course, there's some payoff with that moment. But remember, folks, just like Qui-Gon Jinn said, there's always a bigger fish. So the raptor definitely doesn't make it out of that one. A lot of great action here. So cool to see all of these Mandalorians in action with these jetpacks. I was loving when I saw Bo-Katan, kind of climb aboard the raptor's face and just start going to town, stabbing it. That was phenomenal. I loved Din Djarin's maneuvers here to get Ragnar out of its grip. It was shot so well. It was performed so well. I know a lot of that's CGI, whatever. It looked great, though. It looked fantastic. What did you think of this mission? What did you think of Paz going all Leroy Jenkins in there? What did you think of all of this, Zach?
This is one of my favorite action scenes in the show, I think.
Wow,
this worked for me so
far.
well. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. A couple levels, again, there's always levels to this. I think it worked for me so well because we finally got to see the Mandalorians work together, do what Mandalorians do, at least from what I know, flying their jetpacks around, using these like lances or whatever she calls them. Every piece. So I'll start at the beginning. I love the fact that he's like, no, we got to be stealth. So they climb up this huge thing, which Bo was like, I've done this in my sleep. You know what I mean? Come on.
Yeah.
So you guys can do it too. So they do it. He, like a dad, is like, that's my son. And he runs down there. And then you get the babies. When this thing like flies up real slow, that looked so real to me. I thought that looked
great.
Incredible.
It looked great.
And then like when he's doing the like spits the kid out, which hasn't been injured, but whatever.
Yeah, a little weird, but again, it's Star Wars.
Like,
it's Star Wars.
He's fine. He's just been sitting in there. There's no
24
acid
hours
or anything. Yeah, there's no. They were out sleeping and eating by the fire while you're in the mouth.
They're just chilling. Yeah. Sorry, dude. We'll get to you in the morning.
Yeah, don't worry, son.
We need our sleep.
And then so that moment, and then the fact that he just like dad modes straight into the mouth and gets taken. I was like, well, I didn't really go well. How'd that go for you there, buddy? Now you're in the mouth and your son's in the talons. Come on. But all that aside, it didn't take me out. I just was like, oh no, like, that wasn't a good thing. Now you're both taken, but then it goes into full action mode. So well shot. When Bo-Katan gets hit and like saves herself, Iron Man style, like you said, a lot of Iron Man
hands too. Yeah,
the Iron Man style.
And I know she doesn't have jets coming out of her hands, but she gave that motion.
She loses her pauldron or whatever. Is it a pauldron?
Yes.
Loses that, but she's back in, right? So she's stabbing this thing like Drax, just straight Drax style stabbing this thing. I love that because that just shows like she's a fighter, she's a leader. She's the other ones are just flying around. She's the one getting in there and stabbing him.
And
Paz gets free.
She has no reason to. That's the thing
no reason
as well.
At all.
And she's just doing it.
I love it, dude. Gosh. That's why I said it's all natural. Like she doesn't mean to do these things. She's just a leader, and it's like she's just helping this dad save his son. Thought it was absolutely hilarious when Paz goes boop, 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 and then just like like slides down the thing. Thought that was hilarious. I don't know if that was meant to be funny,
Oh, I
but it
think
made
so.
me laugh.
I think
was
so.
Because he just that was hilarious. And then Den
Yeah.
just goes full like, I got this.
Yeah.
And he gets the kid, misses him. They're flying. He saves
Mhm.
them. Oh, it was so good, man. It
was
was
great.
so good. And the CG was incredible,
It
in my
was.
opinion, for this. It
It
looked
was.
so real. Because, like, sometimes when you get the body CGI, like the human, it looks goofy. Like, you're like,
Yeah.
"All right, that's not, obviously." I thought them flying around this thing looked amazing.
It did.
And when we have the shot, again, we've talked about these like mounted shots that they've become like obsessed with, where it's like mounted on the ship or mounted on whatever. We get the shot of it mounted on his shoulder and he's
Yes.
flying towards it.
Yes.
Oh, I was like, whoa, this is sick. This is awesome. And then
Yeah.
he saves the kid. And then, oh man, it just was so good. And then we, I don't know, did we talk about it yet where he gives the kid back to,
No, that's next. Go for it.
okay, so, so he saves the kid. The raptor, bigger fish, that is 100% a callback to that.
Yes,
But
it is.
also leads to my point earlier where
Yeah.
they're like, this place is not habitable. We shouldn't be here.
Right.
That's what that tells me.
Yeah.
But Den lands with the kid. Paz, I love that he immediately
me-
rips him
like,
away.
yes. Yes.
Like,
yes.
Not like he's mad, but just like, he's my
Get
kid.
to come here. Yes. Yeah.
And also like, I'm not the one that saved you.
Mhm.
I failed. Like, that's how I would feel in that moment. Like,
Yeah.
if you save my kid from that, I'd be like, give him to me. I need
Right.
to embrace him, but also like, I'm not the one that saved him.
Yep.
And I got emotional for the second time here
Okay.
because I love the This Is the Ways in this season.
Yeah.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
this one right here where he doesn't even say anything except for thank you. I think that's all he says there is
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
And all Den says is this is the way. Like,
Mhm.
we're good, man. Like, I got you. And I loved it. It
Yeah.
made me, I didn't weep like Ahmed
Sure.
does, but
Yeah.
I was like, taken aback. I was like, ooh, that
Yeah.
hit me hard.
You're so right.
go
with
ahead.
The,
What were your
with,
thoughts?
No, with the This Is the Ways, you're so right. Like, I feel like almost all of them, some of them are grouped together, but they all have different meanings. Like this Is the Way is an appreciative one. Previous This Is the
Yeah, this
Ways are
one's
like,
like I got you,
agree
man.
with you. Like,
And the other
there's
one
just
is
so
like,
many different
I
things.
accept you, where
So cool.
she brings Bo in and says, this is the way.
Yeah.
That's all right, come on in, right? I loved this
It was
moment.
great.
It's quick and fast, short, but
Mm-hmm.
loved it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think you summed those moments up perfectly. So let's go ahead and get into the return. Back to the covert, the armorer tells Bo-Katan that she has honored her house and all of Mandalore because she has done the highest honor of the creed by saving a foundling. They exchange yet again another meaningful This Is the Way, and Bo-Katan reveals they brought 3 more foundlings in need of care, and that's the baby raptors. Now, the armor, in my opinion, has full potential to go full Dany Targaryen here. She's got 3 raptors that maybe they'll grow up one day and she'll just be complete in control of them. I can't wait to see that. We got a lot of creatures brewing here. As far as the armor's got these 3 raptors, Bo-Katan's got the mythosaur. Boba Fett has the, why am I blanking on it right now? Why am I blanking on that right now? I'm a host of a Star Wars podcast. Rancor, there it is.
Rancor.
That's
I
what
wanted
Boba
to say
Fett's got.
Ragnar. What's Ragnar? That's
Well,
the kid's name.
that's the kid's name.
Yeah, I was
See,
like, I
we're
know
getting
that's
mixed up.
something.
We're getting mixed up. Sorry for the delay, folks. I know what that stuff
Yeah.
is. But anyway,
Back to paid
we're getting
programming here.
a lot of creature establishment here, and I do think they're heading toward something with that potentially. But anyway, let's talk about the meaningful part of this moment here. The armorer notices Bo-Katan is missing a pauldron and commits to making her a new one. While the armorer is making a new pauldron for Bo at the forge, she asks if she should inlay the signet of the Night Owl. Bo-Katan asks if it would be acceptable if she wore one pauldron of the Night Owl and another with the mythosaur. The armorer says the mythosaur belongs to all Mandalorians and that it's always acceptable to wear. All right. This was pretty cool for me. I did not see this coming in the slightest. I love the fact moving forward, she does have a pauldron that's, just pure Beskar. It's not blue. It's nothing like that. One mythosaur, one Night Owl. Definitely a tease of something that's potentially yet to come for sure. What did you think of these return to the covert moments and the signet decision of getting a mythosaur from our girl Bo-Katan?
As I've said
Loved
before,
it.
loved it. This like more lore, more backstory of the Creed.
Mhm.
We now know this is the highest thing you can do, save a foundling.
Yep.
That should tell you something. If that is the top thing on their list, maybe they ain't so bad. I just want to throw that out there. All
That
right,
is a
they're a
great
cult,
point.
blah blah blah. But if their highest thing you can do is save a child or a foundling,
Mhm.
they that bad? Okay, they don't take their helmets off.
Some good qualities there for sure.
Like, come on. So I thought that was amazing lore. Them getting the chicks of the raptor,
Mhm.
dumb to me, but
yeah. Well, I gotta admit, first watch, I'm like, how did those three fit in there?
I'm like, what? Okay. I'm thinking that there's going to be payoff with this.
100%.
I don't know.
I'm telling you,
But
creature battle.
There's got to be.
It's gonna
right?
turn into Dungeons and Dragons.
Are you saying like with the mythosaur? Is that like what you're saying?
Ooh.
To get the mythosaur, like they got to use these creatures.
See, I wasn't even thinking how to like utilize them. I'm just saying like they're gonna get used somehow.
Oh, I don't know. If that
But
happens,
I like that.
You better clip this and bring
Ooh.
it back, baby, because that was a pure off the cuff. I don't know.
I will.
But
I will.
all in all, this worked. The bringing back and her that being the highest thing. This goes back to what I was talking about the armor. That girl is eager to make some armor. She's like, oh, you ain't got a pauldron. I got you. I got you. Real quick. Let me whip this up.
Come on.
Yeah,
Come to my
exactly.
forge.
Like she's ready, like excited, you know. But where do they get all the Beskar, by the way? Like, do they just have Beskar like on the ready?
Well, so they do have all the leftovers from Navarro when they fled there.
Oh, okay. And also
I know
we didn't talk about...
Din Djarin gave up all the Beskar that he won or earned, I guess. And there was a lot left over. I remember that line. I can't remember. I think that's season.
We didn't
season
talk
1.
about where she makes the point of they all give their scraps to make Grogu's thing. Thought that was just, you already know.
And you said it earlier too about you were, and I didn't feel comfortable saying this because it's really wild early in the podcast. But if you're still listening, you're committed. So this is going to be something that may be completely stupid. You were talking about where are their ships at earlier. What if they're scrapping Beskar somehow off their ships, and maybe that's why they don't have any anymore, and that's how they keep getting this armor? That's completely wild. I don't think that's likely at all.
I really don't even, frankly, care where they're getting the Beskar. I just wondered, like, man, this girl's ready to make armor. Where are they getting all this? But I thought it was amazing that Bo finally lets loose here and is like, what if I put the mythosaur on there? You know, she's playing chess. She's like, maybe if I put mythosaur on my thing, then, you know, I can ride this thing and it's already on here.
Yep.
And it's a perfect metaphor, night owl, mythosaur. We get it. That's very on the nose for me. Like, this is the bringing together of everyone. It just proves my point earlier of like, this is where we're going.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love it.
Well, then we get even a bigger moment here. Bo-Katan asked the armor what she would say if Bo had seen a mythosaur. The armorer declares Bo would be very lucky and that it is a very noble vision. Bo clarifies that she means seeing a real one beneath the living waters of Mandalore. The armorer responds by saying, when you choose to walk the way of the Mandalore, you will see many things. Bo-Katan says, but it was real, and the armorer says, this is the way. Yet again, another this is the way that has so many interpretations. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know if the armorer believes her. I don't know why Bo-Katan informed the armorer of the mythosaur. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's possible that maybe Bo-Katan didn't actually see the mythosaur now, too. Like, it's possible that maybe it was a vision somehow, and it was just wishful thinking on her part that this was going to be her opportunity to rally the Mandalorian people and reclaim Mandalore. But I'm to the point where I do think it is actually real, because, number one, the fans would absolutely riot if you end up telling me that mythosaur's fake. But number two, I also think as far as plot movement, that mythosaur's got to be real. So I'm definitely not thinking it was a vision. But I'm still wondering, and maybe you can help me see the answer to this, Zach. Why would Bo-Katan inform the armorer of this, but not Din Djarin? I don't know what's going on there. What do you think?
So my take on this, and I've thought a lot about it because, honestly, I'm not real sure about this whole situation. But I think where it leads me is number one, I think it's her, almost word vomiting. Like, what if it's real? Like, what if I saw it? What does that mean?
Sure.
Because number two, it leads into what I've been preaching this whole thing of bringing everyone together. So I think she's talking to her because she's the leader of this watch, right? In my mind, I don't know if that's official, but in my mind, she's the leader of the watch.
Yeah. 100%.
And so, I think she's telling her and not Din because she needs to know, like, what does this mean to you? If it's not important to them, then maybe that's not her play to get them to come together. But if it is, like she thinks it is, I think that's why she's telling her and not Din. But then the third reason I think she's not telling Din is because he is a competitor, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, I hate to say it like that, but that's the only way I can put it. Where,
well, yeah, no,
he's another guy. He's got the dark saber.
He's got, yeah, and that's what I was about to say. Like, if he's already got the dark saber and she wants any play at it, like, he can't get the mythosaur, or there's no doubt about it whatsoever.
Like, I don't think it's like a bad blood thing. I think it's just a reality of her play. Like, if you have this in your deck or in your hand when you're playing cards, like, you're not going to tell everyone I got this, right?
Right.
Especially the people sitting at the table. So I think that all of this, again, I don't even know if she meant to say this. I think it was just like a in the moment. What if I had a mythosaur on there? I think that'd be cool. And what if I saw a mythosaur? What would that mean to you? And the fact that the armor responds with, first of all, ha ha ha, like, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that'd be cool. It's a good thing. It's a good vision. And then she says, like, no, it's real. And she says, this is the way. I took this as the armorer, and this may be a hot take. I think I took this as the armorer saying, like, if it's real, go get it. Like, this is the way. Like, you got, like, go. Like, get it. Like, that's how I took this. I didn't take it as, like, this is the way,
like a whatever, this is the way.
Yeah, like, all right, whatever. I took it because the armor don't play. We've talked about this for episodes now. She does not mess around.
No,
so
she doesn't.
When it comes to these lore, like, these foundational lore elements, if you go after the mythosaur, if it's real, it's going to change the game, as it should.
Yeah, 100%.
So this is the way. It's real. Go after it. And also, I wanted to ask you this. I've been waiting for this moment.
Okay.
Do you think that she knew that it's down there? Like, she knows it's real?
The armor?
Yeah.
No, I do not think that. Based on the conversation that she has with Din Djarin in the Book of Boba Fett, when they're...
I don't remember.
Yeah, they're chilling there. Well, because she tells him Mandalore's cursed. Like, you can't go back there. The living waters are gone. There used to be songs of eons past of the great mythosaur ruling and blah, blah, blah. Like, she just views it at this point, in my opinion at least, until Favreau or Filoni tells me differently, she just views it at this point just like all the other Mandalorians is just legend, folklore, if you will.
Interesting. See,
I think she agrees that there used to be some, 1,000%. I think there's no denying that.
I love this podcast because I take it as maybe she believes her and she knows, like, yeah, maybe they are out there. If Mandalore's not really cursed, he just went to the living water.
Yeah,
he got the water. So maybe that's real. Maybe you saw it in there. She probably knows the lore that this was a mythosaur nest or whatever they call it.
100%.
That is how I took this is the way. As in, like, I believe you. Like, go get it. Like, I believe you. Maybe it is real. That's how I took it. How'd you take this is the way?
No, I'll be honest. I still don't know. I'm still 50-50 with it. Like, I could see her just saying, this is the way, as in, okay, sure, if you say so. Like, I'll just put an end to this conversation with a this is the way. But I could also see kind of what you were saying where, I'm aware that it's possible. And if it's possible, this is the way. You better go and do something about it before somebody else does it.
Man. That you worded that so right, like, in my mind.
But I wonder, too, like, if the armorer is enjoying and thriving being the leader of this covert, why is she not thinking... okay, maybe I need to go and do something about this?
I think she just wants to be the armor.
You think so?
I don't think she has, like, aspirations to lead the Mandalorians.
Yeah.
I do not believe that
I think
whatsoever.
you're probably right on that because she made zero efforts in trying to get that Darksaber from
She's just
Din
kind of the
Djarin.
mom of everyone. Like,
Yeah.
I'm your mom. Let me
She's just
fix you
looking
up
out
with
for
some
everybody.
armor. Here's the rules of the house.
Yeah.
Like that's how I vibe with her. I don't take her as like wanting to be the coach
Okay.
or like the principal.
I feel like every breakdown we've done about this time, we make some parallel to Game of Thrones. So I'm going to do
Sure.
it here. Almost like a hand of the king is the armor. Like your
Yeah.
right hand man, right hand woman, right man Mandalorian here is the armor for whoever is going to end up coming out on top of this.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
I'm with you on that. I don't think she's interested at all in the Mythosaur or the Darksaber. So maybe she is. She's just now kind of going to take a step back because she knows Din Djarin right now has the biggest claim.
Darksaber.
He's got the Darksaber.
Yeah.
All right, Bo. If you're saying if the Mythosaur's out there, do something about it.
Well, I mean, if we put the pieces together, we've got Din Djarin, a Foundling, who has the Darksaber now, which is a Mandalorian lore thing.
Yeah.
And we have Bo-Katan Kryze. Is that how you say it, Kryze?
Yeah, you nailed it. Good job, man.
Who is the like part of the Kryze clan, who's like, or Clan Kryze, who's like this, millennia going back.
Yeah.
And she's telling me she's now in the Creed, by the way. She's in the Watch, so she's part of the squad. And she's telling me she just found a Mythosaur. This is the way, baby. Go get it. This is the way. That's how I took it. All right, if you're still with us here, throw it in the comments. What do you think? What did you think that this is the way meant when the armor said at the boat? What do you think? I want to know what everyone thinks about this because, it took me a little marinating. I had to think about it.
It took me a second watch to even get to the point.
And maybe I'm completely wrong. Like,
yeah,
maybe. But the way the armor's so official, so serious, and this is the way has been, meaningful. I think that's what this one means. I don't think it's a blow off. This is the way.
Yeah,
I think it's a serious one.
I think I agree with you. It took me 2 watches and took me hearing from you.
My pitch.
That I think she's kind of giving her blessing, if you will. Like, go and do this thing. Go and do this thing. Well,
perfect way to say it.
Our final shot of the episode ends with Bo-Katan staring at the Mythosaur skull displayed inside the cave, which I 1000% believe is foreshadowing of what is yet to come, and I can't wait to see what's to come. I will say, on a personal level, I've seen on Twitter some people that had early access to this season somehow say that this episode 5 coming up is a doozy as far as it could be divisive potentially. I don't know what that means. I'm going to completely ignore that, and I'm just going to be along for the journey and along for the ride. Maybe
so Bo going to turn on him? Is that what we're thinking here?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I
love that. I don't know.
To it. Yeah, I do too.
Like to talk about what we think is next. I don't know. I don't know. I know where we're going. We've set the framework of what I think is going to happen, but how it actually happens, I don't know, and I love it. It makes me so excited for next week.
No, I'm stoked.
It's the same. I've talked about it before. We got Pedro. I got to talk about Last of Us. It's my favorite media entity ever.
Do it.
Each week was a story. You didn't know what was going to happen the next week. You just knew the overall framework. Now, could they have pitched the framework better this season? Probably. Make it a little clearer for everyone.
Sure.
And, I mean, frankly, we could still be wrong with what's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
But the excitement of knowing that we're going to get lore, we're going to get cool Grogu moments, we're going to get Din moments where he's awesome, and we're going to get Bo now. Sign me up. Like, whatever we're watching, I'm in. And I love it so much. I love this episode as a whole. And if we get that throughout the season or even a couple more times, I'm happy.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. Overall, this episode was so much fun. So many great reveals, setting up so many great things potentially, not only for Grogu's flashbacks that we've kind of talked about, but also obviously this whole internal thing that's going on with Bo-Katan and how Din Djarin and Grogu and the armor, Paz Vizsla, all these people are going to play into it. And I cannot wait to continue to cover this season. We are officially halfway through season 3. So don't forget, though, we've still got 4 more podcast, companion podcast episodes, breaking down the latest chapter of The Mandalorian. So be sure, like I said up at the top, hit that subscribe button. If you're still listening and you haven't hit that, come on, join the way.
You got it.
Join us. It's so much fun to do this. I can't wait to continue to do it again. I will say we are going to have to skip the feedback. We're having some technical issues with that, so I'll definitely reach out to those of you that got to us on Twitter. I'll let you know detailed thoughts on those replies that you sent me. I greatly appreciate you sending those in. I do remember, though, the Twitter poll was only goods and greats. It wasn't anything below. So everyone across the board, at least on @MandoTalk on Twitter, at least on that profile, everyone loved this episode. So that was great to see. But yes, thank you so much to everyone that sent in those submissions. I'll definitely reach out to you and get your shout out to you on Twitter for sure. But thank you so much for that. Anyway, thank you so much, Zach, for being a part of this one. Thank you for helping me break this one down. Thank you for helping me see the light on some things this week.
Heck yeah.
It was so much fun. Final thoughts, final words to share with the people.
Thank you for having me. I love being here. I love this show. I love these characters. Said it before, I say it again. Mando Din Djarin's one of my favorite characters of all time. I love the show, and I love this episode.
Yeah, great stuff. Good soup. Good soup, if you will. All right.
Good soup.
Let's get out of here. Thank you so much for your continued support. Can't wait to talk about Chapter 21. Those of you that are long listeners, if you're new here, you haven't heard his voice before, but if you've been listening to Mando Talk for a while, DJ Foster is planning to be back next week. So be excited about getting a new perspective, a different perspective for The Mandalorian Season 3 up to this point. Can't wait to talk about this season with DJ. Can't wait to talk about Chapter 1. That's going way back. Chapter 21. Chapter 21 next week. All right. Let's get out of here. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Enjoy The Mandalorian. And I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, as always, we have spoken.